first leg of the Triple Crown was last Saturday under the Twin Spires. It was a battle from the gate, and this one looked like an NBA game. As soon as they opened the gate, the favorite Renegade, who had drawn the terrible post inside, Pete, on the wood, he knows he's got to get to that corner, but 3 or 4 horses come right over on him. So when they come out of the gate, it's just craziness, and you watch all the way to the right side of your screen, orange and blue, and they try to run Renegade into the wood.
All credit to Irad Ortiz, who is the best jockey in horse racing. Flavien Prat's good. His brother obviously won the race. How does he not only keep that horse together, but then the horse loses by a neck for winning the whole race? And he's not the only one who got taken out.
Yeah, and Todd Pletcher, the trainer, that was their strategy. They said, we got to get out, we got to slip through and get in the first 10, and it didn't happen. So now they're at the back of the field. And I remember at this point, Pete, I said, Renegade's done. Renegade is at the bottom of your screen right now, but there's another horse there named Golden Tempo. I didn't even look at those horses trailing the field, but it turned out that's where the race was.
He had the 19 post, but there were only, I think it ended up with 18. No, it ended up with 18 with a late scratch with that huge, that's a cool story. The Great White, 1,360 pounds, 18 hands. That's a great story. He scratched, remember, he kind of acted
he did a flip. He landed on his back, and they had to scratch him. Now, Golden Temple started to make his move. Remember, Golden Temple and Renegade were 20 lengths back, dead last, and they ended up going 1-2. But look at this move by Golden Temple in the stretch. Pete, 3 times he's trying to find a lane, and Jose Ortiz on his back is weaving. He knows he's got the best horse. Finally, he just takes him wide into the fast pass lane and outruns everybody to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, in horse racing, we say like the race fell apart, which it did. The pace was too fast. Half of the horses were in that front flank, and that's why Golden Tempo was. It's a good horse. He didn't really have the numbers, Jim, which is why I didn't bet him. That's why he was 23-1. He's out of Curlin for the Phipps, Sherry DeVoe, which we'll talk about. The connections are great, but it just didn't look like he was fast enough. But they all went so fast. And he was able also, like you mentioned, they have stats they give you at the end of the race, how far each of the horses ran, less or more than what the distance. And this horse must have run tons more and still won. It was a great race.
He had to have run, Pete, he had to have run a 16th of a mile further than he had to if he had stayed on the rail. I mean, he was so wide. And then, once he was out, he started to come back in. And then he went back out. Then he wasn't sure. Then he just took it wide. And then Ortiz goes to the whip and brings him to the wire. Now, that's the other part of this story is the amazing thing. These two horses, completely different. Renegade a favorite. Golden Tempo, just a horse off of the shadows. I never gave him 2 minutes a look. They both end up at the back. Terrible starts. And it looks like it's over for both of them. But nobody's paying attention to Golden Tempo. They're watching Renegade because he was one of the favorites. And you knew they'd be coming because Renegade's a closer. But then you have the Ortiz brothers on the back who are, I think, a combined 0 for 19 in the Derby to start this. But nobody was talking about Jose. They were talking about Irad on Renegade. And then for Ortiz to beat his brother, I mean, the two of them in a stretch duel. I mean, this is a movie, right? The two brothers coming down the stretch on opposite horses. And as soon as they cross the wire, Irad, who is just crushed, he had the horse. He should have won the race. He loses to his brother, and you pointed out he goes over right away. First thing he does, Pete, he reaches over to his brother and gives him a fist bump.
Irad is a class act. Yeah, I'm sure you know, Jim. He's kind of like Angel Cordero back in the day. He gets I wouldn't say a bad rap. He's a very aggressive rider. There, a couple of years ago, even they were called like, when are the stewards? When is racing going to discipline this guy? But listen to Irad. I really like him. He's the best jockey in the country. Jose's not far behind. I'd say it goes Irad Ortiz, Flavien Prat, and Jose. Jose might win the Eclipse Award this year for best jockey. So that was one of many cool things about this race, that the Ortiz brothers, because the Ham and Eggers on a Wednesday, or the Ortiz brothers somehow miraculously run 1-2. Oh, the conspiracies come flying. The brothers look out in the Kentucky Derby.
Well, you know there were guys, Pete, at Churchill Downs, there were guys who played the Ortiz Exacta. You know they did.
270.
And the Exacta paid great. It paid $285. The Exacta paid in this race for a favorite and a long shot, but long shot on top. That's what does it. All right, so you and I have been around the track long enough. There's always great stories, and when it's a Triple Crown race, everything just gets magnified. So you have this great horse that went off. What did he go off at 23-1 by the time they closed the gate? 23-1, and then he outruns in the stretch duel the favorite of the race, Renegade. You got the two brothers on the back, but the story of the day, nobody saw it coming, was Cherie DeVaux, the trainer of this horse, the first woman ever to win the Kentucky Derby. Not a Triple Crown race, but the first Kentucky Derby horse ever trained by a woman, Cherie DeVaux. She has a great history. She was going to med school. Her whole family was in harness racing. Her dad, Butch, was a driver. And here she is watching her long shot horse come from 20 lengths back to win. Watch this woman react. Who wouldn't have been like this? This is her first Kentucky Derby, and she wins it.
Who's it coming? There's Donald Trump!
How good is that?
It was the best, and I think all else being equal, especially in the Kentucky Derby, which had 20 million, the rating. That's 4 million more than the NBA Finals.
Love it.
That's great. We're not only, we love to go to the track and bet and all that, but we're both big boosters of the sport. It gets a bad rap. It's in trouble. They're their own worst enemy to some extent, but got enemies to have other agendas.
The woman hugging her in the white, that's her sister, who's also a thoroughbred trainer. So look, we always look for reasons to prop up the sport. This is great. This story, you just need to get out of the way, but horse racing will stumble and not promote it right. Hopefully people outside of the sport, especially if they come back, she comes back and wins. She's not going to run the Preakness, but she comes back and wins the Belmont again. They're going to pump her up before the Belmont, so she's going to get a lot of airtime then. But look at this. This is awesome. You're not going to see Baffert jumping up and down. Pletcher might get a little excited, but those guys are all too cool. It's not so unexpected. This was her very first Kentucky Derby. She had a long shot horse that came from the back of the field, and she even had the second best Ortiz in the race. I mean, none of it was supposed to happen. And that's what makes it so great, right? I mean, this story is awesome. You don't even have to be a horse race fan. And I love that, what'd you say, 20 million watching it. The only thing that bugged me was, why did NBC get off the air so fast when the race ended? Oh, an NBA game had warm-ups. They were off the air. I thought we'd see 5 replays and have all the analysts go through and spot shadow the horses and see what happened. They were off the air in 5.5, 6 minutes after the race ended, and they took a break and came back. And Tirico did his usual vanilla. He's fine, but he's not a horse race guy. And I'm like, I'm ready for more. I want to know more. And all of a sudden they're like, and now let's join the Cavs and the Rockets, or I don't even know. I was like, what? And so then I went to the internet on my own. But what the heck? I mean, it's the Kentucky Derby. It's a huge story, and they bailed out of it. There's so much build up and no payoff at the end. I think it was a mistake.
Completely agree. It reminds me, I've just watched, I know you did too, the Bill Walton 4-part documentary, and the Portland Trailblazers are going to win the championship. They moved the game to 11 a.m. because they had to get the Kemper Open on, because the sports producer executive at CBS hated basketball but loved golf. And so the NBC still obviously has the rights to horse racing, but have a feel. And everyone loves Jim, also a come-from-behind horse. Zenyatta was undefeated for her first 20 races, but also made her special. She came from dead last at everyone loves that, right? And she's a great story. I loved how she said, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. She was a pre-med student, like you mentioned. She was a weightlifter, and she had been assisting Chad Brown, who's a great trainer.
Yeah.
And for those who know, is the best grass trainer in the world, or certainly in this country. So she strikes out on her own. She said, my husband told me to try it on my own. He believed in me.
3 years.
Nobody else.
Gave her 3 years.
That's all she said. All credit to my husband. And look, so she's a great story, and it's her first derby. But look who her owners are. Her owners, this is no way to diminish. This is great. The Phipps family. That's like royalty in horse racing.
Yeah.
They had what Claiborne. They had so many great horses, and they had faith in her, obviously. So great all the way around. Half those horses.
They said they loved the way that she handles horses, and they started putting great blood stock into her barn. And she took off right away. It took her a year to win her first race as a trainer, but then after that, she started getting better horses. She's good with them. They respond to her. She seems to be able to handle it. And this horse, Golden Temple, I don't know if you knew this, had some cracked heels 4 days before the race, which
Why I didn't bet him.
and the metaphor had them. Well, the metaphor is it's like having chapped lips for an
Right.
athlete. It's annoying, but it's not really going to bother you. And you know what she did? Nothing. She didn't gallop the horse. She trotted the horse and gave him more rest and said, he's ready. And she was right. Now, a trainer who's been around 30 or 40 years might have overtrained that horse going into the race. And you think she would have fallen for that. That's her first Derby. She'd want to make sure she did everything. Instead, she did nothing. She stepped back. The best quote was they asked her after the race, "Hey, you're the first woman trainer to win a Kentucky Derby. What does that say, to all those, women and young girls out there?" And she said, "Well, I'm glad I can be an example for them and show them that anything is possible." She said, but, a lot of people are going to say that I'm a one and done. And she goes, "So I guess I have to do it again," which was just great because she knows. And they asked her about being a woman trainer, and she was great. She diffused that. She said, "You know what? This is a tough sport for men. It's a tough sport for women. It's a tough sport for jockeys, for trainers, for owners. It's a tough sport for everybody. Your gender doesn't even matter out here because it's all about the horse." So she just kept deflecting it. She handled it great. But the fact that she says, "Hey, I won it. Everyone's going to say I'm a one and done. I'm going to come back. I guess I have to do it again." Like she already knows because she's trying to keep that hunger. So, everybody was great that day except for NBC. And I'll leave you with this one. Hey, NBC, do this. Google this phrase, the Heidi game. And we'll see you next year.